pa ia whaale atunu, whaale malo, pa ia whaale kalesia, ia ole ale o e se whaamitalanga, paula mātou whaamitalanga, ia tā alofa lava i le suafa pele o tātou li o Iesu Keriso, malo le soifua, malo le langi mama. Ia, greetings from the National University of Samoa. I, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Le Fionga ia Leapai, Fui Asafou, and management of the National University of Samoa, and the staff of the Faculty of Education, would like to welcome each and everyone to our SIVA MAI concert 2017. Tonight's SIVA MAI concert, we feature our one and only Opeloge Azam, who is currently working in New Zealand, but he has reached out to our National University of Samoa to help our young musicians, our young students who are here in the National University of Samoa in terms of their music, developing their music, their talents of singing and performing. So before we start our program tonight, I would just like to give thanks to our Lord for tonight's event. Yeah, sa unis tātou te talo, whawhitai tele ta mai lo wangarelei, o taitai la mai lo lātou soifua, ma lo mātou ola, o mātou whaapotpoto ai la loifo le nei whale, a wale whaamoemoe pēna tū nāsu la o fio, whaamemole ta mau e si la fia, o no la fia ngai ma le whaamoemoe le ponei, ia tele se vi ingo oe lo mātou ta maa, whaamuia lau universite, whaamuia i lātou uma ua au fia, o no oe lo mātou lii, ma lo mātou whaola, wa lātou ai lo mātou talo. Amen.
Right, I thought this is a good time to actually say something. Talo Falava, and welcome, and thank you for coming along tonight. It's fantastic to see so many familiar faces and also new people who have come along to support. So this is the culmination of a couple of months, a couple of weeks' work at the NUS Music Department. I just want to say I'm really, really proud of the guys who have sort of formed this little band that we had going for the last 2 or 3 months, because a lot of the music we've done, I know that from when we first sort of started looking at the music, they've gone, what? Like, what are you doing? But they've really taken to it, and they've really enjoyed sort of taking on new sort of ways of approaching and also styles of music. So it's fantastic. Just want to introduce Ina, who's singing with us. On the drums we have Appa. And on the guitar, we have Titi, Junior Lamisi. So a lot of the music tonight, other than the next piece, a lot of the music, all the music tonight except for the next one, are pieces that I composed for tonight. And the idea really is, for me, music is a way that we express our identity, who we are as people. And the thing that we always, a lot of people go, well, a lot of people say, well, the music we choose to love and we enjoy says something about who we are. But actually, a lot of people forget that the music we don't like and the music we reject and the music we hate, as we say sometimes, is actually an even bigger expression of who we are, our identity. And it leads me to this idea of what's called a social imaginary. For those of you, if you've heard of a social imaginary, it's this idea that we all belong to something. For example, let's say Fale Samoa, right? We all belong to, or we have this concept of what Fale Samoa is and the interpretation or the practice of it. Similarly, in Samoan music, when we say Samoan music, nowadays it's a massive wide range, right, of style, of interpretation, of sound. And a lot of people just go Samoan music and everyone just goes, oh, I know what that sounds like. But in actual fact, I'm pretty sure most people in here will have a different interpretation and a different idea of what Samoan music is. And I think that's a really important thing. So the reason why I've chosen for us to do this next song, which, as I said, I wish I'd written it, but unfortunately I didn't, it's because it's a song that we all know. If you're grown up in Samoa, you know this song, but we all know it in a different way. And so tonight we're going to play for you our way of how we belong to this social imaginary of Samoan music, and this piece called Tele Iolosami. Cool. Hope you enjoy.
o le sami te le fo'ila au o le vau te le manu felelei I le langi te le tama a whakasi Ae sili ai o e la upele le la lelei o Samoa Ai ma te mai a lau tupua Be te lo le ingoa Ai ma te mai a lau tupua Be te lo le ingoa Be te lo le ingoa Be te lo le ingoa Be te lo le ingoa
Ina, ladies and gentlemen. She's got a beautiful voice, isn't she? So one of the reasons why I love coming back to Samoa, and especially to the NUS, is as you can see, there's so much talent here. It's this amazing amount of talent. And one of the things we've started recently trying to do is just trying to expand a little bit on the style of music that everyone sort of works on. And what the piece that we're going to look at next is a work called, the piece is called Relentless, but what they're going to be doing is a whataupati, so a slap dance to the piece called Relentless. So I wrote Relentless because I, basically is an expression against a lot of racial and colonialist attitudes that I come across in my work. When I used to first start off doing classical music, you know, there's lots of horror stories, for me anyway. And so the experience wasn't really nice. And so what I used to do is I started to write this piece called Relentless. And the idea behind it is it's in 5/4. And the idea behind a piece that's in 5/4 is that it never settles. Right, as you hear the music, it never settles. If you do it in 4, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But we're doing it in 5/4. And I think it's an expression of the fact that in life, we go through waves, right? We go through waves of good times and not so great times. And for me, 5/4 represents that idea that even though we go through good times, there's never really 150% settled. You know that's not going to last. That sounds so defeatist. But you know what I mean? Like, you know it's not going to, there's always twists and turns around the corner in life. And so for me, the idea of writing a piece in 5/4 was to express this idea. And also, as I said, I sort of came across a lot of challenging, I'll share one thing, I won't say who they are, but I was working with a professional orchestra in New Zealand, and they'd asked me to write a piece for them. And they said, could you write us a Samoan or Pacific influenced piece? So I wrote them the piece. I sent it to them, and I had one log drum in it. And they sent back an email saying, could you please ask if you put 6 log drums in it, and a couple of people dressed up in traditional clothing, and maybe even 1 or 2 dancers. And I replied, and this is exactly what I wrote. I said, that is such a beautifully colonialist thing to say. Because to me, and I said to them, to me, the idea of what sounds Samoan, as a musician, it's not what looks Samoan. But I said to them, the Samoan part that you asked for is in the music. And I actually laid it out for them. If you listen to the violin part at bar 100 and whatever, if you listen to the percussion part at this bar, you will hear these rhythms. Those rhythms come from Samoa. And we do not need people in grass skirts and coconut bras to play them, to make it sound or look Samoan. The music, the Samoan part of the piece is in the music. So this is the kind of thing that I sort of come across a lot. So this is a part of this work here called Relentless. When I first approached these boys to do a whataupati to 5, you should have seen their faces, because they've never danced to 5 before. As you can imagine, Samoan music and pattern, it's all in 4. And I came up and said to these guys, I really want you to do this to 5/4. And they've done an amazing job. So they're doing this whataupati, which is to this piece called Relentless. Let me turn this off first, because it took a long lifetime. Oh, got lucky. So please welcome on stage. And this is Relentless. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Upper, the boys there, didn't they do a fantastic job? Give them another round of applause. Now, hopefully this is going to work for me. Pretty good, eh? They did a good job. Basically, the process, just so you know, what we did is we went through the music and I talked to them about the points of the music that were really important to me rhythmically. And then basically I checked in on them every every couple of days. And the thing that I'd counted on, hoped for, and the boys just came up with it naturally, is that I knew that whatever they were going to come up with, they were going to come up with what we call counter rhythms, right? Which are rhythms that go against what I've already written, but would create other rhythms that were really, I can see I've lost some people, but you know what I mean? Like, it creates other rhythms that are already there, and it just created, like, it's a fantastic texture in terms of the music, and they've done a really, really, really good job. So thank you. Oh, it worked. Awesome. Thank you very much to the boys. So the next piece we're going to look at, we're going to have two works that we're going to be looking at next. One of the things that I certainly grew up with as a Samoan, I was born in Samoa. A lot of people think I was born in New Zealand, but I'm not. I was born in Samoa. When I come to Samoa, some people say I'm a whiapālangi. And when I go to New Zealand, I can't get away with the fact that I'm Samoan. So I'm kind of in that middle space somewhere. But as a Samoan, as a young Samoan boy, I grew up in the church. And one of the things that's my constant journey in life is how I relate and engage with the church and faith. So it's a really, really important part of my journey. So the next two pieces you're going to hear, the first one is a prayer, which will be sung by Rosa, who is one of our teachers here at the music department, Rosa Solomona, followed by, so that's more of a prayer, and then followed by a piece called Hey Now, which is more of an expression of happiness and faith. So can I just call on to Rosa to come on stage? Please welcome Rosa. you. So that was a piece called Hey Now. And you might think, well, why that style of music? Well, when my faith was very small, that was the style of music that got me back into church. So it was through music that I found, and that was, made my journey back into faith and church really a lot easier. So yeah. Our next piece is probably the, I don't want to put too much pressure on them, but it's probably the highlight of the night actually for me. So that is pressure, isn't it? For me as a musician, I often like to think a little bit beyond my square, my circle. So a couple of years ago, I had this idea that a lot of my friends thought was really crazy. Luckily, I found a couple of dancers who didn't think it was that crazy and were willing to try it out. And so what it basically was is I went to a show, a restaurant, and there was a show on, and I was sitting there and I was watching this particular person dance, and I thought to myself, if I slowed that music down and sped up the ma'ulu'ulu slightly, they would meet somewhere in the middle, and somewhere in the middle, their hand movements would be similar. Anyway, it was a crazy idea, but we thought we'd give it a go. And thankfully, we've got 3 amazing dancers who are going to perform that for you tonight. Can we please welcome back on stage our singers as well? And this is called SIVA MAI. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Fisa, Tia, and can I introduce Candice Franklin, who flew in from Auckland a couple of days ago. I bet you didn't expect that. Did it work? Sort of? Yeah. I was at a Greek restaurant and I saw a belly dancer and I thought, man, the hands look like the Maori Ulu dancer in Samoa. Of course, no one believed me for about 10 years until I found people that actually thought they'd try it. So thank you very much to Candice, to Tia, and Fisa for making that happen. So before we finish up tonight, I did promise it would be short and sweet, and I'm sorry we're running 5 minutes late at the moment. But before we finish up tonight, I would like to just acknowledge a couple of people, just quickly. First of all, Vice-Chancellor Professor Fui Leapai Osofo, who's sitting up the front here, for his support and his time and his advice. Really, really appreciate it. Also, Professor Malama Melesiao, who is the Director of Centre for Samoan Studies, who is at the front here and is a good lady. And also like to acknowledge Dr. Whangwele Swali'i, who I think he's had to go off to, or he might be at the back somewhere. He's the Dean of the Faculty of Education, who have been really, really supportive of the time that I've had here. I'd also like to acknowledge the staff from the music department, Rosa, Sherry, and of course Susao, who is, I know has been quite unwell lately, so hopefully she recovers soon. Before we finish up tonight, I'd actually like to invite my wife up. I haven't asked her this yet, so she's going to get grumpy at me afterwards. But I just want to ask my wife and my kids up. We'd just like to announce something quickly. By the way, we didn't mean to match black and white. That was an accident. I took my daughter out shopping this morning and she chose this, so it turned out accidental. This is my wife, Margot, who's been very supportive of what I do, and our kids. Noah? No? Staying there? All right, fair enough. We'd just like to, we've been talking with Whangwele and also Malama the last couple of days, and we just wanted to announce tonight that we're going to provide a scholarship worth $1,200 towards a student who is sort of showing a lot of potential and promise and performance. And what that is we've actually started with him tonight, so he's actually already started, so I might as well say who he is. But what we've been doing is we've been Skyping in teachers from overseas to take students for lessons. And currently this young man is learning from the head of jazz guitar at Victoria University in Wellington. So he's got a pretty good teacher at the moment. So he's getting Skype lessons, which we will support and pay for now and next year, up to $1,200. So we'd like to award that. Well, actually, Whangwele is not here, but the gentleman who's playing guitar, the young man who was playing guitar here tonight, who you can tell he's pretty good, Titi, Junior La Messi. I don't have a trophy or a certificate to give you, but I know that they will. So we will be supporting him in terms of his lessons throughout the rest of this year and next year. And he'll be Skyping to various teachers overseas, which would be awesome. We've got a teacher in Japan lined up. The idea really is to give him as many different styles of music, and the more different teachers you have, the better. Because I know he'll get sick of my voice soon anyway, so it's always good to line up other people to follow that up. So please, ladies and gentlemen, Titi, Junior La Messi. So, and the other one that we'd like to offer is a scholarship of $1,500 to go to a student who is studying to become a music teacher. I'm a teacher. I've taught at university as well as high school, and I'm really, really passionate about music education. So we wanted to provide a scholarship that supported anyone that we haven't figured out who that is yet. I know that the music staff and the Faculty of Education will provide that name soon, heading towards the next year. But that'll be a scholarship to help them. It's basically some mentoring with teaching music teachers and music educators, not just here in Samoa, but also overseas. So, yeah, we just thought we'd let you know. So hopefully that's support. We're not rich, but we'll just try and help out. So before we finish up, our last piece tonight is called Tupulanga Samoa, which I'll invite Titi, Upper, Tane back on stage while they set up the whala. So the teacher that I currently have at the moment, his name is John Pasathis, and also another gentleman who I was learning off, he used to say, I used to go back to old pieces and try and rewrite them, because I'd listen to something and go, man, that was terrible. What was I thinking? I was telling Vice-Chancellor Sofo the other day a story about how the first piece I ever had performed in public was by the Melbourne Chamber Orchestra in Australia. And I remember thinking I'd written this piece using a formula and approach that I'd never used ever before. And as it turned out, I hated it. I absolutely despised this piece that I wrote. It was the worst piece I've ever written in my life. And the funny thing is the orchestra loved it. And they performed this piece in public. And in the middle of the piece, I went to the bathroom, but because I didn't want... What happens is after the piece finishes, they'll put a spotlight into the audience to say who the composer was. And it was terrible. When they were putting the spotlight out, I'd gone. I was gone. I didn't want to be known for that piece. And the point of the whole story is that my teacher said to me, don't go back and rewrite it, because that's a signpost of where you were at the time. That's when you look back in 40 years' time, that's where you were in 2000, whatever it was. So This piece, for me, I think is where I'm at as a composer and as a musician. So this is called Tupulanga Samoa. It's really simple. It's about how we should grow our youth if we want to, if we want to do well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy this last piece. Thank you.
Tupulanga Samoa, manatua. Lauanga nuu tautua. Ole alofa esililea. Tumalosi sa ilipea. Samoa manatua Laua nganu tautua Ole alofa esililea Tu malosi sa ilipea
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tane, Apa, and Titi. So they're pretty good, eh? So watch out for these guys. They're amazing young musicians. So after Taitele lava.
Malo, Taitele, Opeloge, and the students. Beautiful performance tonight. Please, another round of applause. You, Opeloge, would know better than I the musical talent that our students have here at the university. All they need is a little bit of an enabling environment to take them to the next level before they take their own wings and fly with talent. So thank you very much for those 2 scholarships to our music students. Come to about nearly 3,000 tala. That's a lot of money to help our musical talent here at NUS. You as a person move so seamlessly between our 2 Samoans here in Auckland. An ideal Samoan citizen of today, my definition of a Samoan is 70 to 80% global, 20% land of origin. And you have that. Thank you very much for tonight, and your wife and your family. Whafteitele, moranea fiafi, whafteile. Tāleni mga wa maile tua, whaso mai, ia e oa e fo itālenia, alum whanau o tātou tunu. Once again, thank you very much.
For those of you who don't know, Opeloge is here by the grace and generosity of the New Zealand Arts Council. New Zealand Arts Council have been sponsoring artists to come and have attachment to the National University of Samoa, and NUS has benefited hugely from a series of artists that we have been very lucky to have. And Opeloge is the last one, is the latest one of those artists. And we have been very grateful to have him. And I don't have to say, Google Opeloge and you will find out more about it. He's currently enrolled at Victoria University to do his PhD in music, and we wish him all the best for that. Thank you very much.